few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, a libertarian called in and asked if you knew about Vosh's coconut analogy,
Oh
coconut
yeah,
island.
yeah.
Did you did you did someone eventually tell you
No,
what
no,
oh,
actually,
okay.
no.
Okay, so that's the clip. That's the clip I wanted to show you. Let me see if I can pull this up. Okay.
Definition of
Wait.
coercion
Let me
here?
ask you a
Did I
very
miss something?
let me ask you a basic question, okay? Let's say that you are on a plane and that plane crash lands on an island, okay? There are only a few survivors. In fact, there are only two, and you wake up after the first one does. By the time that you have woken
Okay.
up, the other survivor in this plane has claimed all of the coconuts on all of the coconut trees, stacked them on their pile, sheltered that pile with all the wreckage from the
Okay.
plane, and declared
Sure.
they own it. And they say that they would be willing to give you said coconuts if you throat their cock. Now, would you
Okay.
consider
No,
that to
no.
be a
So that's
voluntary interaction? Is that a voluntary
okay.
interaction?
Okay. So no,
For
I'm
some
actually
people.
no. That's no, Vosh. Thank you for that. That's a great way of getting to the next fundamental, I think, misunderstanding here in terms of a definition of property rights. And I
But
think
you have to answer the
one thing
question
you would
before you can
appreciate.
move on.
I'm gonna get to the coconuts and the deep throating. Don't
But
worry.
it's yes, no. I
But
just want to
if
know
you
the question answer, and then you can
would that be
extrapolate.
ethical? No, it would be unethical. It would
Okay.
be.
Yeah.
Ah,
That's
okay.
yeah.
I would never give an analogy with that would involve any type of sex acts. But with that said, um, yeah, I mean the point's a good one. Yeah, I had never
Yeah.
heard that, and yeah, I mean I think the interesting thing is, um, in terms of coerciveness, we've heard these same people talk about how coercive it is to not allow people into a restaurant or into a movie theater unless they're vaccinated. That
Hmm.
it's coercive. And it is.
Yeah.
It is coercive. Even though you don't need to go to a movie
To
over the
live.
next 6 months or year, let's say, whatever it is, or
Hmm.
go into a restaurant, you can still order out from a restaurant,
Yeah.
still get food in a supermarket. You don't need to do those things to survive, right? I mean, those are luxuries. But I still think that, yes, requiring a vaccine to go into those places is coercive. It's not as coercive as you need to do this to keep your job. That's also coercive. That's more coercive, much more coercive, because you need a job to make money to feed yourself and feed your family.
Hmm.
Um, and so the argument that libertarians will deploy, which is, you have a right to quit your job. You're not coerced into anything. Well, no, it's coercive. You can make an argument. It's not as coercive as somebody holds a gun to your head,
Yeah.
but it's sort of like a slow motion holding a
Hmm.
gun to your head. I mean, and so it's interesting to me, if after having many of them made this argument about vaccines being coercive, um, which I agree that they are, or vaccine, not quite mandates, but
Yeah.
requirements in some places and this and that, are coercive. So isn't economic coercion.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's no free market or free trade as they try to
No,
claim that
yes,
there
there is
is.
no
Yeah.
free market. These free markets do not exist without societies. They set them up.
Yep.
And so they're necessarily government interference in the market. Like, it almost doesn't even make sense to say that's like saying the government interferes with Medicare or the government
Yes.
interferes with Social Security. The government, I guess you could say, interferes, but it also creates it and
Yeah.
allows it to exist and structures it. Sometimes the government does things you don't want it to do, and sometimes it does things you do want it to do. And it creates the system to deliver for certain people. And the market is also created to deliver things for certain people. And at different times over the course of our history and hopefully into our future, some instances, the market is designed to provide benefit to one cohort of people over another cohort of people. And right now, our markets are designed completely to provide the most amount of benefit and power to the wealthiest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now that you have seen the coconut analogy, you'll keep that one in mind next time a
Yes.
libertarian calls it.
Yes.
No. But yeah, that I figured you hadn't seen what it was, so I figured
I
I'd play it
hadn't. I
for you.
hadn't. Now I
Yeah.
get it. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Um, you're welcome. And hopefully you have Vosh on sometime on the majority report. That'd be
Yeah, I
cool.
mean, I think
Yeah.
ultimately, I think ultimately I might do that. I mean, I've seen some of his work and I like it, and I think uh, I don't generally have. I'm sure you've noticed this over the years.
Yeah.
I don't generally have commentators on.
Yeah.
I mean, like on Fridays is the closest thing that we have, and it's usually someone who is written, who's a writer, and so
Mhm.
I can sort of like see what pieces they've written that sort of like dovetail into this. And unless it's like pegged to a specific event, like I had Hassan on when he get,
Yeah.
um, but certainly, I'm sure ultimately I will have Vaush on.
Yeah. Um, I'd be cool. I've been
He
on his
reaches the kids. He reaches the
yeah.
kids.
Yeah, because I've been on his stream twice. Once about 2 weeks ago to promote my campaign, and he also did an interview on my show. And the first time he had me on was last April or last March. And like a couple of weeks after I was on his stream, I had a student come in and tell me one day, like, "Hey, I saw you on Vosh." I was like, "You
Yeah,
saw me where?"
my good buddy. I
Yeah.
first heard about him
Mm-hmm.
from my friend John Benjamin's kid.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Like it was, but yeah,
Said
that
to me, he's like, "Do you
was,
know this guy Vosh?" And I'm like, "Nah, no, look him up."
but yeah, like and the person who said that she saw me on Vosh, her boyfriend, I knocked doors with Bernie with his mom, and I was
Oh,
like,
that's
oh, that's
funny.
cool.
That's really
Yeah,
funny.
so it was like, I was like, oh, look at that. It's all connected there. But
That's
yeah,
really funny.
but yeah.